Okay, so in terms of your cultural identity, where are you going with that? Because obviously you're mixed race and it's not recognised in current society.
I think my cultural identity is more my identity than my sexual identity. I feel like because it is what I define myself as. I wouldn't really meet someone and be like, "Hi, my name's Jade." I feel like the way I look is more questionable than my sexuality. But I feel like it's a very important part of my life because that's what my life is based around, the culture and how I live and my family at home, and obviously your mum and dad are always going to be your main focus in life. But I feel like I want to explore it in general because it is so current now. I feel like your identity is such a big part of your life, and I feel like it's something that I want to explore further. And I feel like the fact that no one else can relate to obviously people who are mixed race can relate, but then people who aren't, they don't really think about how it can affect someone. And I feel like it's such an interesting direction to go down because it educates, but then it's also relatable to people who are also mixed race.
And then thinking of the cultural stigmas around people who don't portray being mixed race in their skin tone, in the way they speak, where they really come from, and all of that. I feel like because you're from Liverpool, you sound like you're from Liverpool, you look like you're from Liverpool, people probably quite easily don't realise that you are of mixed race until they actually talk to you.
Yeah.
And so it must be very hard to be in this place where, although you were born here and that is very much your heritage, that you have this whole other side that you almost feel excluded from, like you were saying about what you got called when you went over there, which was, what was the word?
Flang. Which means white person or foreign person. And the fact that I am slightly white, but I'm also Thai as well, so I feel but then it's difficult because different people interpret it different. Like how you said that you didn't know I was Asian. But then there's people who only look at me as Asian, not as white. So it's I'm in the middle of both identities. But I identify as being mixed. But other people identify as just being one or the other. But then overall, I am still the other. Because I'm in the middle. I'm not in one set category. I'm a mix of two categories.
And then it's also interesting the fact that you're hetero, and how we were talking about in these sessions how you didn't feel like you could speak as much because you didn't identify as LGBT, and because although I'm bisexual and not very open about that, I do feel similar as you do in being hetero, because you feel like you're not accepted by either, much in the same way as being mixed race is where do I fit in with all of this, and identity and sexuality really do go with each other, even in cultural contexts and ethnicity.
Because it's who you are. I feel like identity is just who you are, and obviously everyone has different identities, and you can have different ways you express your identity, but that's still who you are, and I don't think anyone else can tell you what's what.
They can't take that away from you. No one will ever be you. No one will ever really know you as well as you know yourself. You might find people who get close, but it's always up to you. And it's the same with all these labels and things, I don't think everybody has to have a label. You don't have to fit into this pigeonhole. You don't have to identify with,
because that's just making it more
she, they, them, gay, straight,
more judgmental bi, and more
exactly. If you want to be he, she, they, them, and everything in between, fine. It's a dangerous place to force people to choose to be these things, but then on the flip side, it's not fair
that they're not acknowledged.
Yes, and especially in terms of cultural identity and mixed race, for them to not offer a checkbox for people of any other race or mixed background, and just you're black or you're white or other, is very similar in pigeonholing people into, oh, you're you're hetero, you're bi, or you're other.
Yeah.
Like, you need to give people those options. So in terms of like paperwork, it's one thing, but then in terms of like reality, it's another thing. And it must be really hard if you don't feel like you fit into any of those stereotypes and gender norms and all of the words that we have now that you can be. And if you still feel like you're somebody else, like even Brian was saying, you know, that he doesn't feel like he has to choose to be he, him, they, them, she, her. He's all of those things, you know.
That's fine. Like,
And although we would say that he is possibly non-binary, he identifies as trans, and maybe some people would reject him for choosing to be that way. But if that's who he wants to be, or they want to be, or she wants to be, then that's fine. And it's much the same as like, I don't feel like I have to go around telling everybody, oh, I'm Alaina and I'm bi. Like, it's my choice if I don't want to portray that. Of course, I'm not against anybody who wants to be out there with it.
Yeah.
But yeah, exactly. It shouldn't. Everyone should just be free to be whatever they want to be, and that's fine. And if you want to be really loud about it, cool. If you don't want to be loud about it, that's fine too.
Yeah.
But it upsets me when people don't accept if people's choices to be out there or not. Like, if that's your choice, that's fine, but you have to respect if other people don't want to be out there and really loud about it, you know. And of course it's an important conversation to have, and I'm not saying that it should go away or that anyone should not do it, but
everyone's different. I feel like people forget that, like, not everyone's gonna have the same like story to tell. I feel like everyone goes through different experiences, and just because you've gone through that and you feel like it was important to you, it might not be important to other people. But I feel like most people forget that, and I feel like everyone gets so offended nowadays about opinions and everything, and obviously some more things are like obviously more offensive than others, but I feel like everyone's getting so offended when realistically it's just because people aren't educated and people just want to learn. Do you know what I mean? That's why I felt like as a straight person that I couldn't really relate to all the conversations in the group about sexuality, because that's just not what I've like gone through. I've not really experienced all this, and which is like not a bad thing. Do you know what I mean? Just like I shouldn't have to be like the same as someone to like be able to like listen or learn. I feel like some people are very like against like like you're not in my group, like you can't know what we're talking about. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly. And that's about like exclusivity, and it's like this place that only certain people are allowed to be in, and it's very much, you know, again relating to the fact that I'm bi and you're hetero, and yet both of us feel excluded in a way from this LGBT environment, because bisexual people, not all the time, but I have been made to feel this way, in that because I'm bisexual and I haven't chosen a side, that I'm not allowed in either. So it becomes very difficult to have friends because you're
in the middle.
And much the same as if you're hetero but in a group that's a diverse sexuality range, you feel like the minority and excluded from those conversations, because not everyone, but some people make you feel like your opinion is not valid because you don't fall into that exclusive group. So we need to be more open about having discussions and including everyone, and it's supposed to be an inclusive environment, and that's where the progression is. It's counterintuitive when you have people in these communities who openly reject bisexual people or straight people because they don't fit into their box. And it's like, but the whole point is that everyone's supposed to be open and accepting and loving. And when you push it that far the opposite way, you make people sad and angry and upset, and then you get violence and hate where there shouldn't be, you know, when you're made to feel less special or not included. And that's the whole point of all of it.
I think it's very interesting though how, like, obviously I was feeling a bit like worried about how this topic would relate to me personally, but I feel like now thinking of it through my like mixed race identity, like I feel like it's very relatable, because I feel like as a mixed race person I am into separate like identities. Like I've got my white identity and my Asian identity, and I've like white friends and Asian friends, and I feel like I'm just in the middle. But obviously when I do go to Thailand and when I am over here, I think I am two different people. But that's only because of like how like society is, and like I feel like it's easier to people just put you in one box so then everyone else understands. But I feel like now people need to understand that it's not all about which box you're in. You can be in like 5 different boxes and still be one person. Do you know what I mean? You don't have to do things. I feel like everyone's being so like you have to be this, you have to be that, you have to. You're only allowed to pick one, but it's not that deep.
Exactly. So I think it'd be so good when the world just accept that everybody is different and that's okay.
And everyone has their own opinion, and that's okay.
Exactly. And not everyone has to agree, and that's okay. But it's really good though to just keep discussing it, keep the lines open, keep it going, because without this, nothing will ever change.
Yeah.